Hello, today is March 10th, 2025, and let's jump into looking at some more what the House is doing to our education system. H.R. 1635 to amend the Higher Education Act of 1965 to increase the period of eligibility for federal Pell Grants and for other purposes. Again, other purposes. This was brought to us by Haley Stevens, a Democrat out of Michigan. I don't know if I told this story before, but I had a MAGA person tell me that kids from low-income communities shouldn't even be educated. I want the best and the brightest, the cream of the crop. Kids who come from poverty are obviously not going to be it. I'm guessing this bill will go to the committee floor to die as well. We already know the rich can afford to go to school. House Resolution 94, expressing support for the nation's local public K-12 schools and condemning any actions that would defund public education or weaken or dismantle the Department of Education. Obviously, this one comes from a Democrat, Suzanne Bonamici out of Oregon. So it says, I'm going to actually read part of it to you. Resolved that the House of Representatives strongly supports federal investment in public K-12 schools and the students and families served by these schools. 2, affirms that the Department of Education plays a vital role in the nation's system of public education. 3, affirms that the federal government's investment is important to the success of students in public schools. An investment in public education should not be diverted, including through the use of vouchers to privately run K-12 schools. And 4, rejects any claim that the executive branch has the legal authority to or would serve the nation by dismantling or relocating major offices within the Department of Education. Dismantling or relocating the Department of Education. C, reducing federal funding for public education, blocking the granting of major federal grant programs for education, or transferring funding burdens for education to state and local governments. So this is the side that doesn't want to get rid of education. H.R. 455, Protecting Higher Education from Foreign Threats Act. This came from Greg Steube, who's a Republican out of Florida. This bill prohibits an institution of higher education from receiving federal funds for an award year in which the Institute of Higher Education employs an instructor who, while employed at the IHE and providing direct instruction to students, receives funds from the Chinese Communist Party. An IHE may regain eligibility for federal funds by demonstrating to the Department of Education that it no longer employs such an instructor. So the instructor is getting money from the Chinese Communist Party, then they can't be working at our colleges. And I can see why. I don't know how prevalent that is, but I can see why it would be problematic. H.R. 84, to expand opportunity for Native American children through additional options in education and for other purposes. This was brought to us by Andy Biggs, Republican out of Arizona. It helps to fund private schools on reservations, including religious schools, which I am not for funding private schools of any kind. We need to make all public education better, not move the money to private schools, because that is actually just helping people who can already afford to send their kids to private schools. It's not helping the kids who go to public school. It's doing a disservice to them. House Resolution 66, affirming the role of the United States in improving access to quality, inclusive public education and improving learning outcomes for children and adolescents, particularly for girls around the world. So we're trying to help countries who don't have the money to educate their children. If we educate them, they can get out of poverty faster. This was brought to us by Grace Meng, who's a Democrat out of New York. This resolution commends the role of the U.S. government in improving access to quality, inclusive education and improved learning outcomes for the poorest and most marginalized children and adolescents around the world. The resolution calls on the Department of State and the U.S. Agency for International Development to use all diplomatic, humanitarian, and developmental means to promote access to such quality education. I would love to hear what you all think about these bills. Please leave me a like, subscribe, and share this message. I would like to keep America up to date on how the representatives are representing us. Have a day that matters.